Kelly had watched enough crime shows to know that families rarely solved things when everyone was in the room at the same time. Too much noise, too many voices, too many distractions. The truth usually waited until people went home, until the adrenaline wore off and the silence had space to work. Thanksgiving had been loud. Suitcases rolled over tile in every direction. Leftovers became negotiations. Jaynae ran logistics like a command center, rides assigned before anyone finished asking. EJ tracked bodies with his eyes, never once announcing it. Laughter cut through the tiredness anyway, the kind that only showed up when the Yendes stayed together a beat too long and still didn't want to leave. The message had come in right then. Right as everyone was leaving, it landed in the family group chat between flight updates and a blurry photo someone sent by accident. Most people saw it but didn't stop. Someone laughed it off. Someone asked who sent it. Someone else said they would talk about it later. Later never came. Now everyone was home, back in their separate states, back in their routines, and the message was still sitting there unanswered. Kelly was the only one who hadn't been able to move past it. She sat on the couch in the St. Croix house, her injured legs stretched out and elevated, the ocean visible through the open doors like it had always been there, and always would be. Crime television played in the background, muted more often than not, because she wasn't really watching for entertainment anymore. She was watching for method. She scrolled back through the family chat and reread the message for the fourth time that day. Christmas won't be like last time. Come ready. Truth does travel. AN. It wasn't the initials alone that bothered her. It was the phrasing. Auntie Nadine had practically raised her during summers on St. Croix. She had been the one who let Kelly sit at the kitchen table late at night when the rest of the house slept. The one who talked to her like a person instead of a child. Nadine believed in honesty the way some people believed in prayer. She said the same things often enough that they became part of Kelly's internal language. Truth does travel. Nadine had said it once after a long conversation that never made it into family lore, said it quietly while washing dishes like it was something Kelly needed to remember more than something she needed to respond to. No one else in the family used that phrase. No one else would think to sign a message that way. That was why Kelly hadn't laughed it off. That was why EJ hadn't either. Her phone rang. EJ's name lit the screen. Kelly answered without greeting him. "Tell me you saw that message," EJ said. "I saw it," Kelly replied, "right when everybody was walking out the door." "I figure," he said. "You went quiet." She shifted on the couch, adjusting her leg with practiced care. "Some things don't need commentary." "That wasn't some thing," EJ said. "That was Auntie Nadine." Kelly exhaled slowly. "And you know why it stuck?" "I do," EJ replied. "You were the only one she talked to like that." They both knew it was true. Nadine had trusted Kelly with conversations she never repeated, truths she never softened. When she spoke, Kelly listened. When Kelly stayed quiet, Nadine understood why. "That phrase wasn't an accident," EJ continued, "and it wasn't meant for the whole family." "No," Kelly said, "it was meant for me." A pause stretched between them, comfortable and weighted at the same time. "You've been thinking about Thanksgiving," EJ said. Kelly smiled faintly. "You don't miss much." "I remember what I said," he continued, "about your injury." "So do I," she replied. "That's why I didn't call to argue with you." "Good. I'm calling to tell you I'm ready to fight," Kelly said. "Not just about golf, about everything that got left unsaid." EJ didn't respond immediately. When he did, his voice was steady, grounded. "You sure you want to open all of that?" he asked. "I've been sitting still for 9 months," she said. "I'm done pretending that counts as peace." Another pause. This one carried resolve. "When?" EJ asked. "Tomorrow," Kelly said. "I'll book the ticket tonight." "That soon?" "That deliberate," she corrected. "Whoever sent that message didn't expect me to move. I don't plan on proving them right." EJ exhaled, slow and approving. "Then we do this right." Kelly ended the call and opened her laptop. She didn't hesitate this time. She searched for flights leaving the next day, one way, Alabama. As the confirmation screen loaded, the message from the group chat lingered in her mind. No longer a disruption, but a marker. Truth did travel, and this time, she was moving with it. Kelly closed the laptop and let it rest on the coffee table. The flight confirmation open, but unattended. Tomorrow had weight now, the good kind, the kind that pulled instead of pressed. She reached for her phone and opened the family group chat. The message from AN still sat there, untouched by resolution, but it no longer felt like a threat. It felt like a starting gun. She typed, "Kelly, I'm heading to Alabama tomorrow, going to train with EJ for a bit." The responses came quickly, overlapping in that familiar way that meant everyone was pretending not to worry. Tomorrow? Golf training? Okay, about time. Kelly smiled. She added one more line before anyone could turn it into a debate. Kelly's, "I'm good. Just wanted y'all to hear it from me first." She set the phone down and stood, shifting her weight carefully before walking toward the hallway. The house felt different now, like it approved of movement, like it had been waiting. Amika and Shaft were in the kitchen, moving around each other with the ease of people who had shared space for decades. Amika was rinsing dishes that didn't need rinsing. Shaft leaned against the counter, arms crossed, watching Kelly approach with a look that already knew the answer. "You leaving?" Shaft said. Kelly nodded. "Tomorrow." Amika turned, drying her hands on a towel. "Alabama?" "Yes, ma'am." Amika's face softened into a smile that carried memory with it. "That boy been waiting on you." Shaft chuckled. "So have your clubs." Kelly laughed, the sound surprising her with how easily it came. "They might be mad at me." "They'll get over it," Shaft said. "They always do." Amika stepped closer and studied her daughter's face, not with concern, but with recognition. "You look lighter already," she said. "I feel like myself," Kelly replied. "At least the version that misses the problem solving." Amika nodded. "Golf always did that for you. It wasn't just the playing, it was the thinking, the quiet. And the traveling," Kelly added. "And the clothes." Shaft raised an eyebrow. "Especially the clothes." They all laughed. Amika reached out and adjusted the collar of Kelly's shirt, the way she had when Kelly was a child. "We know what the doctors said," she said gently. "That's not what this is about." "No," Kelly agreed. "It's about not pretending I don't miss it." Shaft straightened. "You don't have to," he said. "Chase it. See what happens." Amika smiled. "Joy is medicine too," she added. "Don't forget that." Kelly hugged them both, holding on a second longer than usual. "I won't." She headed back to her room and pulled her suitcase from the closet. Packing didn't take long. Workout clothes, sneakers, a hoodie EJ always teased her about stealing. She paused at the bottom of the closet, then reached for the golf shoes. She held them for a moment, then placed them in the bag without ceremony. Her phone buzzed again. "Jaynae, you know I'm coming if you play, right?" "Josh, if there's a tournament, I'm there." Mookie, "Say less. I love a comeback story." Michelle, "I'm bringing a sketchbook. If this turns into a documentary, I want credit." Shlomo, "Alabama. Copy, send your flight info so I know you landed." Kelly zipped the suitcase and set it by the door. Tomorrow wasn't about proving anyone wrong. It was about remembering what felt right, and that was more than enough to start moving. By 5 o'clock in the morning, the family group chat had completely abandoned the idea of sleep. Kelly knew this because her phone would not stop vibrating against the center console as she pulled out of the driveway, the St. Croix house shrinking behind her in the rearview mirror. Dawn had not fully arrived yet, but the sky was beginning to lighten in that patient, intentional way that always made departures feel deliberate instead of rushed. She smiled as another notification flashed. "Let's go!" She didn't even need to picture the sender. That energy only came from one person. Then a calmer tone cut through the noise. "I'm proud of you. Truly." That one landed differently. Solid, grounded. Her phone vibrated again. "This is the part of the movie where the music starts building. You feel it, right?" Kelly smiled. Of course she did. A more practical message slid in next. "No flair, no wasted words. Text when you clear security. I'll track the flight." And then the one that always felt like a hand on her back. "Travel safe, baby. We're praying already." Kelly turned the phone face down and took a breath. The noise wasn't chaos. It was love, showing up all at once. Kelly set the phone face down for a moment, letting the words settle instead of stacking on top of one another. She hadn't realized how much she needed this kind of noise. Supportive, affirming, uncomplicated, until it wrapped around her like a net. She hadn't left St. Croix since the injury. That realization hit as she turned into the airport entrance, the building glowing brighter than it ever did at night. Her leg felt steady beneath her, not perfect, but willing. She took that as a good sign. Inside, the airport hummed with early morning efficiency, rolling suitcases, low conversations, boarding announcements being tested before anyone was ready to listen. Kelly checked her bag, careful with the strap, mindful of her balance, and moved through security without incident. Her phone buzzed again as she reached the gate. This time it was a call. EJ. She answered immediately. You moving? He asked. I'm through security, Kelly replied. Gate's quiet for now. Good, EJ said, because I've been up since 4. She smiled. Of course you have. I'm not winging this, he continued. I've already started your workout plan. Already, she asked. I told you, EJ said. If you decided to fight, I was going to be ready. Kelly settled into a chair near the window, watching the ground crew move with practiced rhythm. Talk to me, she said. First thing, EJ began, slipping easily into coach mode. We're not chasing what you used to do. We're building what you can do now. Stability, control, trust in your body again. No ego. I can handle that, Kelly said. I know you can, EJ replied. Meal plans coming too. Anti-inflammatory focus. Clean fuel. Enough calories so you're not running on fumes and stubbornness. She laughed. You saying I don't eat enough? I'm saying golf used to burn more than you realize, EJ said. And healing costs energy. The boarding announcement crackled overhead. Flight 327 to Atlanta, now boarding Group 1. That's me, Kelly said. Good, EJ replied. I'll send everything before you land. You don't have to decide anything today except to show up. She stood, adjusting her bag on her shoulder. I already decided that part. I know, EJ said. That's why I'm proud of you. The call ended as she stepped into line, her phone buzzing again almost immediately. The chat was back. Jaynae, wait. I just thought of something, a beat. Maybe I need to come there and document everything for your comeback story. Another beat. Yes, I'm coming too. Kelly let out a slow breath, smiling as she stared out the window. Mookie replied, I don't have any tournaments this Christmas, so I'm coming as well. I can record for you. Josh joined in. I can be your caddy if you decide to go in a tournament. Don't even argue. Kelly shook her head, overwhelmed in the best way. Emeka typed fast. Your father and I need a vacation. And Shaft seconded, adding, and somebody needs to help prepare meals if EJ trains you like I think he will. I'll sketch for the documentary, the message read. Real moments only. Kelly smiled. That was Michelle. Always seeing before speaking, already imagining the lines before the story finished forming. Another message followed, confident and grounded. I'll be your personal driver. I know those streets like the back of my hand. That was Shlomo. Practical, certain, already positioning himself where he was most useful. Almost immediately, Jaynae jumped in. Momentum already building. Coordinate with EJ. Find us a nice-sized Airbnb. The reply came back before the thought could even settle. Already on it. Kelly typed one last message as the boarding line began to move. I'm boarding now. Thank you for having my back. She walked down the jet bridge with quiet focus, the same kind she used to have before tournaments, when everything narrowed down to breath and balance. Kelly settled into her first-class seat and exhaled slowly, letting the leather cradle her the way it used to before early tea times and long travel days. First class had once been routine, earned, sponsored, expected. Now it felt like a reminder. Somewhere farther back, a baby cried briefly, the sound muffled by distance, rising and falling like background noise rather than interruption. A flight attendant passed and smiled. Good morning, Miss Yende. Good morning, Kelly replied. She hadn't noticed the man across the aisle watching her until he leaned forward. Excuse me, he said carefully. Are you Kelly Yende? She smiled. Yes. My wife's a huge fan, he said. Golf Channel, ESPN. She still talks about that shot you made, almost 300 feet. A little over, Kelly said. Would you mind signing something? He held out a boarding pass and a pen. Of course, she said. As she signed her name, Muscle memory returned. The curve of the letters, the confidence of it, the way her signature used to follow rounds, interviews, contracts. When she handed it back, he thanked her like she had given him something rare. She stared at her hands after he turned away. That had done it. The recognition wasn't about ego, it was about identity, being seen as herself again, not as a headline or a cautionary tale, not as the golfer who got hurt, just the golfer. She leaned her head back and closed her eyes. The memories came quickly now. The sound of a clean strike, the stillness before an eagle dropped, the hush before the crowd reacted, a hole-in-one from 100 feet away. Her handicap used to be a 6, solid, earned. Now it felt like a ghost number, something she remembered but couldn't yet touch. She remembered sponsors calling after moments like that. Then the call slowing, softening, stopping. She scrolled through old photos she no longer posted. Golf clothes still folded neatly in drawers, outfits meant for courses she hadn't seen in months. Her phone buzzed again, an old ESPN clip. First take. She watched herself speak with ease, confident, whole, talking about strategy instead of survival. The version of her that believed the game would always be there waiting. The plane paused at the runway. Kelly inhaled deeply. This decision hadn't been loud when she made it. It hadn't been dramatic. It came quietly after the scans, after the verdicts, after the silence. It came when she realized she missed the thinking as much as the playing. She wasn't chasing the past. She was answering a call. The engines roared. As the plane lifted, her phone buzzed one last time before she switched it to airplane mode. A message from EJ, workout plan and meal plan are loading. I'll have everything ready when you land. Kelly smiled. This wasn't a comeback yet. It was a beginning. EJ answered before the second ring. He had been expecting the call, even if he hadn't known the exact moment it would come. Some instincts didn't rely on clocks. They relied on knowing people. Kelly, he said, calm and certain, like this was always the next step. She didn't waste time with greetings. I'm on the plane. That was all he needed. He didn't ask if. He asked, when do you land? She gave him the time. Good, EJ said. That gives me enough room. Enough room for what? She asked. He smiled to himself. We'll get to that. They didn't talk long. EJ never crowded moments that mattered. He let the decision breathe. When the call ended, he didn't sit with it. He moved. EJ's house shifted immediately into purpose. He opened his laptop and pulled up notes he had already started weeks earlier, back when Kelly had laughed him off at Thanksgiving, back when everyone else had accepted the doctor's conclusions. EJ had not. He respected credentials, but he trusted patterns more. First call went out before sunrise. A sports medicine doctor he trusted, one who spoke plainly and didn't romanticize limitations. Second call. A physical therapist who specialized in post-traumatic lower body injuries, someone who understood not just healing, but retraining fear. Third call. An injury specialist who worked with athletes whose careers were supposed to be over and somehow weren't. EJ didn't argue diagnoses. He listened. He asked about function, about compensation, about what happened when the mind stopped trusting the leg. He took notes while they talked, writing less about restrictions and more about possibilities. The consensus was clear. The injury was real, permanent in certain ways, and unforgiving if rushed. EJ nodded to himself. He wasn't planning to rush anything. He closed the calls and stood, stretching briefly before moving to the whiteboard mounted on the wall of his home gym. The board was already half filled, not with exercises, but with principles. Recovery first. No ego. Stability before power. Confidence before speed. He mapped the first phase carefully, not a comeback plan. A reintroduction. Balance work that looked simple and burned quietly. Strength blocks that rebuilt trust without demanding bravery. Mobility drills designed to remind the body it was still safe to move. EJ paused, marker in hand, and adjusted one sequence. Fear had to be addressed before force. He opened another tab and started on the meal plan. Anti-inflammatory foods. Enough calories to support healing, not starvation disguised as discipline. Protein timed for repair. Hydration structured, not casual. This wasn't about weight, it was about resilience. As the plan took shape, Something else formed in the back of EJ's mind. He opened a local golf association site he checked more out of habit than expectation. He scrolled once, then again, slower this time. There it was, a small tournament. Low-key, local, 3 days after Christmas. No cameras, no pressure, no spectacle. Just a course, a scorecard, and the kind of environment that rewarded presence over perfection. EJ leaned back in his chair. He didn't smile. Not yet. This wasn't a promise. It was an option. He saved the link and closed the tab without sharing it. Some information needed to wait until the foundation was solid enough to hold it. His phone buzzed. A text from Shlomo. Airbnb options incoming. Coordinating with your location. EJ replied with a thumbs up and a single word. Quiet. Another message came in, this time from Jaynae. I'm documenting, but I'm staying out of the way. EJ appreciated that. He glanced back at the whiteboard, at the careful work already taking shape, and felt something settle in his chest. Not excitement, not fear, readiness. Kelly wasn't chasing a miracle. She was choosing effort, and effort, when guided properly, changed outcomes. EJ picked up his phone and sent one text. K plans are coming together. Don't rush the landing. Just show up. A few minutes passed. Her reply came through. Already doing that. EJ nodded. Good. Very good. The plane began its descent into Atlanta just as Kelly finally let herself stop holding everything together. She hadn't cried on the flight. She hadn't spiraled. She had done what she always did when pressure built. She compartmentalized. But as the seatbelt sign chimed and the cabin shifted into landing mode, something loosened inside her chest. 9 months. That was how long she had lived between before and after. She closed her eyes as the wheels touched down, the jolt traveling up through the plane and into her body. The sound triggered it immediately. Not fear, not panic. Memory. The sound of it. Not dramatic, not cinematic, just wrong. A dull, unmistakable crack paired with a sensation her brain had refused to translate at first. She remembered the wrong step, the micro-adjustment she had made without thinking, because athletes were trained to compensate. She remembered the pain that followed, sharp but negotiable, the kind you told yourself would fade if you kept moving. She had kept moving. That part still haunted her. The plane taxied toward the gate, and her mind kept going. She remembered the moment she knew she shouldn't finish the session, the way her leg felt unstable, not weak, but untrustworthy. She remembered smiling through it, joking it off, telling herself she would deal with it later. Later arrived with cameras. The media storm hadn't asked permission. It never did. Headlines replaced context. Clips ran without nuance. Her injury became a storyline instead of a moment. The family's privacy evaporated overnight. Everyone had an opinion, and very few had facts. She remembered watching ESPN from her couch weeks later, her leg elevated, her body stalled, her life suddenly narrated by people who had never asked her a single question, except one. She reached into her bag and pulled out her phone, scrolling until she found the clip she had saved but rarely played. First take. She pressed play. Stephen A. Smith's voice filled her headphones, familiar and steady. He wasn't shouting. He wasn't speculating. He was explaining. She's not reckless, he said. She's disciplined. And when disciplined athletes get hurt, the story isn't about toughness. It's about trust. Trust in your body. Trust in your process. Trust in what comes next. Kelly swallowed. He talked about the Virgin Islands, about resilience without romanticizing struggle, about how injuries didn't erase intelligence, preparation, or legacy. He told the whole story, not just the moment something went wrong. For the first time since it happened, she had felt seen. Not pitied, not packaged, seen. The plane door opened and sound rushed in. Conversations. Luggage shifting. Life resuming. Kelly stood carefully, letting the aisle clear, aware of eyes on her, but no longer shrinking under them. She walked through the terminal with intention, her name occasionally whispered behind her. Phones lifted just enough to capture proof without confrontation. By the time she reached baggage claim, her phone was already buzzing. Notifications stacked faster than she could read them. Someone had posted a photo. Someone else had confirmed it was her. Someone else had shared the first take clip again, 9 months late but suddenly relevant. She wasn't forgotten. That realization hit harder than she expected. She walked outside and immediately spotted the car. A sleek black Cadillac Escalade, polished like it had been waiting all day for this moment. The driver stood beside it, tablet in hand, her name displayed clearly. Kelly Yenda. A few passers-by slowed when they saw her name written in bold, all caps on the tablet the driver was holding. A couple looked around, connecting dots. One person raised their phone. The driver straightened when he saw her approach. "Ms. Yende," he said. Professional, but his eyes gave him away. He knew exactly who she was. He was trying not to show it. "That's me," Kelly replied. "Welcome to Atlanta," he said. "We're headed to Montgomery. About 2.5 hours." "Sounds good," she said. As he opened the door for her, she caught a glimpse of her reflection in the car window. She looked ready, not healed, not fixed, but ready. The Escalade pulled away from the curb smoothly, the city unfolding and then receding as they merged onto the highway. Traffic thinned, the noise softened, space opened up. Her phone buzzed again. The group chat. "Jaynae, okay, so tell me why my timeline says you just landed and the internet is acting like Christmas came early." Kelly laughed out loud this time. She typed back, "Kelly, I just wanted to train. I didn't realize I was trending." "Jaynae, you didn't disappear." You paused. Big difference. Kelly stared out the window as Atlanta gave way to long stretches of road and trees. The silence in the car felt different from the silence she had lived in for months. This one felt like possibility. Her mind drifted again, not to pain, but to Auntie Nadine's words. Truth does travel. The message hadn't explained itself. It hadn't needed to. It had followed her here, across state lines, across memory, across fear. It had arrived when she was finally willing to listen. She wasn't healed, but she was moving. And for the first time since everything stopped, that felt like enough. The Escalade continued south, steady and sure, carrying her towards something unfinished and waiting. Quick pause. If you've made it this far, hit like and subscribe. You're officially in this journey. Tell us in the comments, where are you listening from right now? The morning air was colder than Kelly expected. December in Alabama wasn't cruel, but it wasn't forgiving either. The kind of cold that didn't bite, just lingered, settling into joints and muscles if you let it. She wrapped her hoodie tighter as she stepped into the kitchen, the house still quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator and the faint sound of EJ moving somewhere down the hall. He was already up. Of course he was. On the counter sat a plate, neatly arranged as if it had been measured rather than made. Not fancy, intentional. "Eat," EJ said without turning around. Kelly raised an eyebrow. "Good morning to you too." "You'll get pleasantries after fuel," he replied. She leaned over the counter studying the plate. Scrambled tofu folded with spinach and mushrooms, seasoned just enough to smell warm. Sliced avocado. A small bowl of oatmeal topped with berries, chia seeds, and a drizzle of honey. A glass of water already infused with lemon and ginger. "No coffee?" she asked. "After," EJ said. "Not before." She smirked. "You're serious?" "I'm always serious at the beginning," he replied. "That's how bodies learn to trust again." Kelly sat and took her first bite. The food grounded her more than she expected. Not heavy, not light, steady, purposeful. She hadn't realized how often she skipped breakfast over the last 9 months, calling it discipline when it was really avoidance. "This is part of the plan?" she asked. "This is the foundation," EJ said. "Anti-inflammatory, vegetarian, enough protein so your leg doesn't feel like it's working alone. You're not playing golf today. You're teaching your body it's safe to show up." She nodded slowly, finishing the plate. When they stepped outside, the cold felt different. Less sharp, less intrusive. The sun was beginning to rise, casting long shadows across the driveway. The range came into view not long after, quiet and unimpressed, precisely the way EJ liked it. EJ didn't start with motivation, he started with rules. They stood at the edge of the range just after sunrise, the air still cool enough to feel forgiving. Dew clung to the grass, and the course was quiet in the way only early mornings could manage. No spectators, no pressure, no expectations. EJ looked at Kelly, then at the bag at her feet. "No shortcuts," he said. She nodded. "No ego." Another nod. "No pretending?" That one landed deeper. She felt it in her chest more than her head. "Questions?" EJ asked. Kelly tilted her head. "That's it?" "That's plenty," he replied. She picked up a club, rolling it once in her hands the way she had done 1,000 times before. Muscle memory kicked in immediately, confident and familiar. For a moment, she almost forgot why this mattered so much. Almost. EJ gestured toward the mat. "Start easy." Her stance looked right. Her grip was correct. Anyone watching from a distance would have thought nothing was wrong. She drew the club back and hesitated. The pause was small, almost invisible. But EJ saw it. Kelly felt it too. The split second where her body checked in with itself before committing. Fear lived there now, tucked into the follow-through, waiting to interrupt. She swung anyway. The ball clipped weakly off the face and rolled forward instead of flying. Kelly exhaled sharply through her nose. "Okay, that was... Again," EJ said. She reset. This time she tried to override the hesitation, to swing through it like she used to. The result was worse. The club came down uneven, the contact awkward. Her jaw tightened. Again. The third shot went farther, but not clean, not right. Her hand started to shake. Not violently, subtly. Enough that she noticed the vibration in her fingers as they wrapped around the grip. Enough that old instincts kicked in, the ones that said, "Hide it, push through, don't let anyone see." She looked at EJ, expecting correction. He said nothing. "Okay," she muttered, stepping back. "What, only 3?" EJ raised an eyebrow. "You done?" She frowned. "That's it?" "You want more?" he asked. She straightened. "I didn't come all this way for 3 swings." EJ nodded once. "Good." He pointed back to the mat. "Give me 3 more." She stepped back into position, breathing slower this time, paying attention to the shake instead of fighting it. 4th swing. The hesitation was still there, but she didn't rush past it. The ball traveled cleanly, not far, but honest. 5th. Better. The shake returned, sharper now, traveling up her forearms. Her grip tightened instinctively, then loosened again when she realized what she was doing. 6th. The ball lifted and landed with a sound she hadn't heard in months. Clean. She froze, hands still on the club. Her fingers were trembling openly now. She laughed once, breathless. "Is that normal?" EJ stepped closer, voice calm, grounded. "Good," he said. "That shake, that's your body talking. Don't shut it up." She swallowed. "It feels like it's arguing with me." "It is," he replied. "About trust." Kelly stared down at her hands, still shaking, still alive with sensation. Fear hadn't disappeared, but it hadn't won either. EJ didn't congratulate her. He didn't clap. He simply said, "That's enough for today." She looked up sharply. "Already?" He met her gaze. "You showed up. You listened. And you didn't pretend." He nodded toward her hands. "That's progress." As they walked off the range, Kelly realized something that surprised her. She wasn't discouraged. She was excited. Her body hadn't failed her. It had spoken. And for the first time in 9 months, she was finally listening. They didn't stay long after that. EJ believed in leaving the body wanting, not depleted. As they walked back to the car, the cold had softened, replaced by a quiet warmth that came from movement done honestly. The drive back to the house was quiet at first, the kind that didn't need filling. About 10 minutes in, EJ reached into the console and handed her a small book. Plain cover, no title, clean pages. "What's this?" she asked. "Your journal," he said. "Not for motivation quotes, not for pretending you're okay." She flipped through it. "I want you to write what works, what doesn't. How does your body feel? Where it resists, where it surprises you. Progress, no progress, all of it." She nodded slowly. "Homework." "Data," he corrected. They pulled into the driveway as he continued. "Lunch is quinoa, roasted vegetables, chickpeas, and avocado. Olive oil, lemon, salt. Dinner's lentil stew with sweet potato and kale. Hydrate all day. Ginger or turmeric tea later. She raised an eyebrow. You got me on a schedule. Yes, he said. Your body needs predictability right now. She was quiet for a moment, then asked almost casually, So, am I training again today? EJ shut off the engine and looked at her. Yes, he said, but not how you think. She smiled, gripping the journal a little tighter. The house didn't feel full until Kelly walked back in from practice. That was the moment it happened. She pushed the door open, gym bag slung over her shoulder, sweat still cooling on her skin, and the sound hit her first. Laughter. Multiple conversations are overlapping. The scrape of a chair against tile. The music is playing too loudly for anyone to claim responsibility. Calypso. Not background noise either. Someone had turned it up with intention. Stanley and the 10 Sleepless Nights poured through the speakers like muscle memory, bold and unapologetic. Kelly stopped just inside the doorway. She smiled. Y'all just moved in? She called out. Mookie's voice came back immediately. First of all, why are you sneaking in like you don't live here? She dropped her bag and stepped into the kitchen. It was exactly what she needed to see. Everyone crowded around the counters like they always did. No matter the house, no matter the state, vegetables are spread out, cutting boards everywhere, pots simmering. Someone was arguing about seasoning ratios as if it were a moral issue. Jaynae stood at the stove, wooden spoon in hand, hair wrapped, talking while stirring like she was mid-podcast. I'm just saying, if you saute the garlic first, it changes the entire base. Girl, please, Michelle cut in, reaching for more peppers. You read one article and now you're Julia Child. Josh leaned against the counter, grinning. I just want it to taste good. I don't need a TED Talk. Amika glanced up and smiled the moment she saw Kelly. Look who survived day one. Shaft clapped his hands once. Come here, superstar. Tell us what he did to you. Kelly laughed and dropped into a chair. Why does everybody assume he tried to kill me? Because we know EJ, Mookie said, deadpan. EJ didn't look up from where he was chopping greens. She's alive, isn't she? Barely, Kelly said, smiling. The kitchen erupted. She took it all in. The warmth, the noise, the easy rhythm of family that didn't need adjusting. Christmas wasn't quiet. It wasn't ceremonial. It was this. People talking over each other, food half prepped, music too loud. All right, Jaynae said, turning dramatically. Report. How bad was it? Kelly leaned back in her chair, stretching her leg carefully. Ugly. Josh raised his eyebrows. Ugly, ugly? First range session after 9 months ugly, she replied. My swing hesitated like it didn't trust me. EJ finally looked up. Because it doesn't. Yet. Michelle pointed her knife at Kelly. See? That's the stuff. Say that again. Slower. Kelly laughed. Fear lives in my follow-through. There. You happy? Michelle nodded seriously. Very. Mookie leaned forward. Did you cry? No. Did you want to? Kelly considered it. Maybe. Jaynae smirked. That's progress. Amika slid a plate in front of Kelly. Eat first, talk after. Kelly looked down. Breakfast had been simple, intentional, EJ's plan. Warm oatmeal with almond milk, chia seeds, berries, and a drizzle of honey. No skipping. No pretending coffee counted. Lunch was already planned too. Lentils, roasted vegetables, protein she didn't have to force. This dinner was the same food they always made. Vegetarian dishes they carried everywhere. But the portions were different now. Timed, balanced, built to support instead of just satisfy. She took a bite inside. Okay, I admit it. This part helps. EJ nodded once. Fuel matters. Josh smirked. He's been waiting his whole life to say that. Shaft chuckled. So what's tomorrow? Kelly wiped her mouth. More training. More ugly? Mookie asked. Probably. And after that, she shrugged. We'll see. The room settled into that easy buzz again. Chopping, stirring, music rising and falling. Someone bumped into someone else. Someone laughed too loudly. It felt good. It felt normal. Kelly hadn't realized how much she needed to tell this story out loud until she was telling it. I didn't feel broken, she said suddenly. The room quieted just enough to hear her. I felt cautious, she continued, like my body was asking questions instead of shutting doors. EJ met her eyes. Just once. That was enough. Dinner came together slowly, intentionally. Plates were filled, chairs scraped back. Someone turned the music down but not off. This was Christmas. Not where they were, but how they were. Kelly's phone buzzed on the counter. She ignored it. Then it buzzed again. Jaynae glanced at it. The chat's acting funny. Kelly frowned. How? Jaynae tilted the screen toward her. The typing bubble appeared, then disappeared. No message followed. The room didn't freeze. No one gasped. But something shifted. Mookie frowned. Did somebody just... The bubble appeared again, then vanished. Nothing posted. Kelly picked up her phone slowly. Her smile didn't fade, but it changed. Probably a glitch, Michelle said lightly. Probably, Kelly agreed. She set the phone back down and picked up her fork. Conversation resumed. Laughter followed. Someone teased EJ about portion sizes, but the bubble stayed with her. Not fear, awareness. Christmas had been rewritten, and somewhere outside the noise, something was still watching. Kelly knew it was going to be bad when EJ didn't explain the workout. He didn't talk. He didn't outline phases. He didn't warm her up with reassurance. He handed her the resistance band, pointed to the far end of the field and said, "Move." She stared at him. That's it? No context? EJ checked his watch. You want context or you want progress? She muttered something under her breath and stepped forward. The first sprint was manageable, painful but familiar. Her leg complained, but it didn't revolt. She finished, hands on her knees, breathing hard but controlled. EJ didn't react. Again, he said. She straightened slowly. You didn't even tell me what we're... Again! The second sprint burned differently. The resistance band pulled at her hips, forced her into alignment she didn't trust yet. Her stride shortened instinctively, protective. EJ saw it. Stop cheating, he said. She snapped her head up. I'm not cheating, I'm adjusting. You're guarding, EJ replied. That's not the same thing. She finished anyway, chest tight, jaw clenched. By the third sprint, her body started sending messages she hadn't felt in months. Sharp ones, loud ones, the kind that made memories surface without permission. She slowed. Don't you dare, EJ said. She stopped completely and turned on him. I'm not trying to prove anything to you. EJ walked closer, voice calm but unyielding. Good. Prove it to yourself. She laughed once, sharp and humorless. You are really enjoying this, huh? I'm doing my job, he said. You hired me the moment you got on that plane. She pulled against the band again, muscles screaming now, balance wavering. Halfway through the next drill, her leg buckled slightly. Not a fall, but close enough. She ripped the band off and threw it onto the grass. No, she said. We're not doing this today. EJ didn't move. You don't get to decide that, he said evenly. Her chest rose and fell rapidly. I told you this was hard. And I told you hard wasn't the same as dangerous. She pointed at her leg. You didn't feel that. No, EJ said, but I see it. She stared at him, anger flashing. Then say something. I am, he replied, by not stopping you. That did it. She lunged for the band, yanked it back into place, and took off again. Sloppy, furious, driven by something more profound than discipline. Her movements were uneven now, power fighting fear at every step. Again, EJ said, you're kidding. One more. Her voice broke through the effort. You don't get to quit today, he added, louder now, sharper. Her body remembered before her mind could stop it. The wrong step, the jolt, the pain she ignored because stopping felt worse than pushing through. She stumbled at the end of the drill and dropped to one knee, hands digging into the grass. For a moment, no one spoke. Her breathing was ragged. Her hands shook violently now, not from weakness, but from overload. EJ crouched in front of her, finally close enough that she couldn't pretend she was alone in it. Look at me, he said. She didn't. Kelly. She lifted her head, eyes blazing. This is not heroic. This is stupid. EJ nodded once. Say it again without lying. She opened her mouth, then closed it. Because the truth was, buried under the anger and fear, something else was happening. Her leg was holding, not perfectly, not comfortably, but it was holding. EJ stood and nodded toward the bucket of balls. 3 more, he said. She stared at him like he had lost his mind. 3? That's it, he replied. Your call. She pushed herself to her feet slowly, wiping sweat from her face with the back of her hand. Her whole body trembled now, but she reset her stance anyway. Give me 3 more. The swings were ugly, unpolished, underpowered, but she finished every single one. She held each follow-through longer than necessary, daring her body to stay present. When it was over, she stood there, chest heaving, hands still shaking, but upright. EJ didn't clap, didn't praise. He said, "That's enough." The notebook lay open on her lap, the house finally quiet around her. Her hands still ached, not sharply, but deeply, the kind of ache that lived under the skin and refused to be ignored. She stared at the page longer than she liked. Writing had always come easily when it was about strategy, instruction, and coaching someone else through movement. Writing about her own body felt different, more exposed. She started anyway. Day 3. Today was more complicated than day 1 and 2. That surprised me. I thought the worst part would be starting. I was wrong. The worst part is realizing how much my body remembers and how much I trained it to ignore. She paused, flexing her fingers. I fought EJ today. Not out loud at first, in my head. Every time he added resistance, I wanted to rush. Every time he slowed me down, I wanted to prove something. My legs shook again. I hated that. The shake feels like weakness, but it's not. It's honesty. She underlined that word. I didn't quit. I wanted to. I negotiated with myself. I counted reps I hadn't earned, but I finished them anyway. It was not clean. It was not strong, but I completed it. Her throat tightened unexpectedly. I miss who I was, but I don't want her back the same way. I want the version of me that doesn't ignore pain just to be impressive. She closed the notebook gently, like she didn't want to scare the truth back into hiding. For the first time since the injury, her body hadn't felt like an enemy. It felt like a conversation. EJ sat at the kitchen counter with his own notebook open, a pen resting between his fingers. He didn't write often, but when he did, it was because something mattered enough to track. He wrote in short lines. Day 3. She fought me today. That's good. He paused, then added, the fight wasn't disrespectful. It was fear trying to stay in control. He leaned back in his chair, replaying the session in his mind. Her body shakes under load. Not because it's weak, because it's relearning trust. She rushes when she's uncomfortable. Old habit, elite habit. I slowed her down. She hated it. A faint smile tugged at his mouth. She finished every rep, even the ugly ones. Especially the ugly ones. He underlined that. Tomorrow I increased mental pressure before physical. She needs to learn that she doesn't have to win every moment to stay in the game. EJ closed the notebook and rested his forearms on the counter. She wasn't broken. She was recalibrating. And that took more courage than talent ever had. The lights were already on when Kelly stepped back onto the range. They weren't stadium bright. They weren't meant for an audience. Just tall floodlights humming softly, casting long shadows across the grass, and turning the practice area into something intimate and exposed. Night training had never been her favorite. Too quiet, too honest. The air was cool in that early December Alabama way, sharp enough to wake your body up, gentle enough to trick you into thinking you were fine. She wasn't. Day 4 had started before her body finished processing day 3. The soreness hadn't settled where she expected it to. It lived deeper, in places that didn't respond to stretching or heat. Every movement carried a memory of the work she had pushed through the day before, every drill echoing a quiet reminder that effort came with a cost. EJ stood several yards away, arms folded, eyes steady, saying nothing at all. That was how she knew this wasn't a light session. Kelly rolled her shoulders and stepped into position. Again, EJ said. She exhaled sharply through her nose. You said that was the last set. I said that was the last one if your form held, he replied, calm and unmoved. It didn't. She tightened her grip on the club. The swing came out rushed. The follow-through shortened instinctively, her body protecting itself before she could stop it. EJ didn't react. That was worse. Again! Her jaw clenched. You're pushing? Yes, he said, I am. She reset her stance, irritation buzzing under her skin now. She swung again, harder this time, forcing the finish like willpower could override instinct. Pain flickered, not sharp, but enough to make her breath hitch. She stepped back. No, EJ said. Stay there. She turned on him. You don't feel it. You don't know what it's doing in my head. I know exactly what it's doing, he said evenly. That's why we're still here. Silence stretched between them, thick and uncomfortable. The only sound was the distant hum of the lights and her breathing, louder now, uneven. You don't get to quit tonight, EJ added. Not like this. Something inside her snapped. Not anger. Fear. I am not quitting, she said, her voice rising despite herself. I'm fighting my body every single second out here. I'm doing everything you ask. I'm doing more than they said I should. Her voice broke mid-sentence. She stopped talking. Her chest tightened. The air felt wrong. Too thin. EJ took a step toward her, then stopped himself. Kelly, he said quietly. She shook her head, tears burning suddenly and unexpectedly. This is why I didn't want to do nights, she whispered. There's nowhere to hide. Her knees didn't buckle. Her body stayed upright, but something inside her gave way completely. I ignored it, she said suddenly. That's what really happened. EJ didn't speak. I knew my leg wasn't right, she continued, words tumbling now, urgent and unfiltered. I felt it weeks before. The instability, the hesitation. I adjusted my stance to compensate. I told myself it was smart, strategic. Her hands trembled as she held the club loosely now, no longer pretending she was ready to swing again. They told me to rest, she said. Not officially, quietly, behind the scenes. But there was pressure, sponsors, schedules, visibility. Everyone kept saying it was just tightness, just inflammation. She laughed once, hollow. And I wanted to believe that. EJ stayed where he was, didn't interrupt and didn't correct, didn't soften the moment. I was afraid, she admitted. Afraid that if I stopped, they'd move on. Afraid that if I said something was wrong, they'd say I was difficult. Fragile, replaceable. Her voice dropped. So I played. Tears slid down her face unchecked now. And when it happened, when the leg gave out, it wasn't a surprise. It was a consequence. I knew exactly why it happened. I just didn't want anyone else to. She pressed her free hand to her chest like it might steady her heartbeat. The media made it a tragedy, she said, but they never told the whole story, and neither did I. EJ finally spoke. Who pushed you? He asked quietly. She swallowed hard. Everyone, and me. The truth settled between them, heavy and undeniable. I've been carrying that, she said. Every scan, every doctor, every time they said I'd never play again. It felt like punishment, like confirmation that I deserved it. EJ stepped closer now, just enough to be present without crowding her. You didn't deserve it, he said. She shook her head. I don't know how to forgive myself. EJ didn't answer immediately. Then he said, That's not tonight's work. She looked up at him, eyes red, face raw. Tonight, he continued, was about getting you to stop lying to yourself. She let out a shaky breath. You pushed too hard, she said weakly. Yes, EJ replied, because I knew there was something you were still holding. She nodded slowly, exhaustion settling deep into her bones. The floodlights hummed above them. The range was empty. The silence no longer threatening, just honest. EJ reached down and picked up the club she'd dropped. We're done for tonight, he said. Not because you failed, because you finally told the truth. Kelly sank down onto the bench, shoulders slumping as the adrenaline drained out of her. I don't know what tomorrow looks like, she said. EJ handed her a towel and a bottle of water. Tomorrow looks like training, he said, but different. She looked up at him. How? Now, he said, We're rebuilding from truth, not fear. She nodded, wiping her face. The lights clicked off one by one as they walked back toward the car. Behind them, the range disappeared into darkness. The house had settled into that late evening quiet that wasn't really quiet at all. Dishes dried on the counter. Someone laughed in the living room. Music played low now, not to entertain, but to accompany. Outside, Alabama night pressed softly against the windows. Different from Christmas on St. Croix, but not unfamiliar to Kelly. She'd slept in hotels on 3 continents. A different place had never scared her. Stillness had. She stood at the kitchen sink, rinsing her hands when she felt it again. That pull behind her ribs. Not fear, awareness. Kelly, Mookie said from somewhere behind her, phone raised casually, like it always was these days. Don't turn around yet. She didn't. What? She asked. Just stay like that. He snapped a photo. Not posed, not smiling, just her. Shoulders relaxed, jaw tight, eyes thinking. That one's for later, he said quietly. She turned then, studying his face. You didn't tell me you were filming tonight. I told you I'd record when it mattered, Mookie replied. These matters. That landed. Kelly wiped her hands on a towel and leaned against the counter. Okay, she said. Then keep recording. The room shifted. Jaynae, who had been half listening while scrolling, finally looked up. Really looked. What? She asked. Kelly didn't answer immediately. She walked into the living room, picked up her phone, and held it loosely in her palm. That text, she said. I haven't said this out loud yet because I needed to be sure. The room went still in that subtle way families do when instinct kicks in. It wasn't random, Kelly continued, and it wasn't meant to scare anyone. Michelle appeared behind them, sketchbook tucked under her arm like it belonged there. Nobody uses someone else's voice by accident, she said. Kelly nodded. Exactly. But here's the part nobody said yet. She looked at Jaynae first. Auntie Nadine used that phrase once. One time. Not publicly. Not in a speech. Not on Facebook. Not in a text thread. Jaynae's fingers stilled on her phone. It was a private conversation, Kelly said. Late. Just us. No audience. No witnesses. Mookie lowered his phone slightly. So, whoever sent that wasn't guessing, Kelly finished. They knew. EJ shifted where he stood. Or they had access. Yes, Kelly said. But not the way you're thinking. She took a breath. Auntie Nadine's phone wasn't lost, she said. It was stored. Carefully. I remember that. Which means one of 2 things happened. She held up a finger. 1, someone knew exactly where it was and had reason to use it. She raised a second. Or 2, her number was eventually released back into circulation, reassigned, sold, bought. Shaft frowned. People can do that? Kelly nodded. All the time, Criminal Minds did an episode just like this. Old number, new owner, new motive. Jaynae leaned forward now, sharp. So, the message doesn't mean Nadine's phone was in the house. No, Kelly said. It means the message was meant for me. Silence. That's the part I keep coming back to, she continued. The timing, right as everyone was leaving Thanksgiving, right when I was deciding whether I was done fighting. Mookie's voice was softer now. So, it wasn't control? No, Kelly said. It was a nudge, a reminder, a push. Michelle flipped her sketchbook open, already drawing. That's worse, she murmured. That means someone was watching you stall. Kelly didn't deny it. EJ stepped forward then, finally changing the energy in the room. You ready for another piece of truth? Kelly looked at him. Depends. There's a tournament, EJ said. Local, quiet, 3 days after Christmas. Everyone reacted at once. Already? Wait, what? 3 days? EJ held up a hand. I didn't say you had to play it. Kelly's pulse jumped anyway. I said it exists, he continued. No cameras, no spectacle. Just golf. She stared at him. You didn't tell me. I needed to see how you handled truth first, EJ said calmly. Not pressure. Mookie raised his phone again. Say that again, but slower. Kelly laughed despite herself, then stopped. I want to play, she said. The word surprised even her. Josh stepped closer, instinctive. Then I'm your caddy. She shook her head. Not instinctively, intentionally. He smiled. Always. Her phone buzzed. A video from Mookie. Her, on the range. Jaw clenched, eyes focused, hands shaking, but steady. I didn't even see you, she said. That's the point, Mookie replied. Kelly watched the clip once. Then again. She didn't look broken. She looked unfinished. She lifted her head. Truth does travel, she said quietly, but so does momentum. EJ nodded. Then we move. Since the injury, questions had felt like a weight. This one felt like direction. Kelly hadn't slept the way people expected before something like this. There were no racing thoughts, no dramatic dread, just a steady awareness sitting in her chest, heavy but contained, like a hand on the back of her shoulder, reminding her she had already stepped forward. She had said it out loud last night. That was the difference. Once the words left her mouth in front of her family, there was no pretending this was theoretical. No hiding behind training plans or timelines or, we'll see how it goes. She had named it, claimed it, let people hear it. Now she had to live inside it. The car was quiet as they drove toward the course. The early Alabama morning slipping past the windows. The sun was already up, brighter than expected for December, warming the windshield in a way that felt intentional. She took it as a sign and didn't argue with it. Josh sat in the passenger seat, already in caddy mode, scrolling through yardages on his phone like this was any other round. Calm, focused, grounded. EJ drove. He hadn't said much since they pulled out of the driveway, which meant he was watching everything. Her posture, her breathing, the way she'd tied her shoes twice before getting in the car. She stared out the window, jaw tight. This wasn't a rinky-dink course. She knew that. Montgomery had good tracks, courses with teeth, courses that demanded discipline instead of flash, front nines that lulled you into rhythm, back nines that punished impatience. She'd played winter golf all over the world, cold mornings in Europe, damp fairways in Asia, windy rounds where the ball flew 10 yards shorter, and nobody complained because that was the game. December didn't scare her. What unsettled her was something else. 9 months. 9 months since she'd walked a course like this with expectation instead of limitation. 9 months since her handicap had meant something other than memory. Before the injury, she'd been a 6. A real 6. Earned, maintained, respected. Now, there wasn't a number yet. Just space. She shifted in her seat and finally spoke. People are going to recognize me. Josh glanced back at her. Let them. EJ didn't take his eyes off the road. That's not the problem. She exhaled. No. The problem is that I will too. EJ nodded once. Good. She turned toward him. That didn't sound comforting. It wasn't supposed to, he said. You don't get to come back quietly. The course came into view then. Green stretching wide under a bright winter sun, flags already moving in a light breeze. It looked alive, waiting. Her stomach tightened. This was happening. Not the tournament yet, not the cameras, not the outcome. Just 9 holes, just her body, her mind, her name. And the truth is that once you said something out loud, the game didn't let you take it back. She didn't rush to get out of the car. Not because she needed time, but because the entrance demanded it. The clubhouse rose ahead of her in quiet confidence. Wide glass and pale stone. The kind of place that didn't shout its prestige because it didn't need to. Players moved in and out with casual familiarity, carts humming past, spikes clicking on concrete. Conversations paused just long enough to notice. Kelly Yende. She felt it before she saw it. Heads turning, eyes narrowing. That brief delay where recognition flickered into certainty. It had been 9 months, but muscle memory didn't belong only to bodies. Faces remembered too. She stepped out, golf bag in hand, and the weight of it settled into her shoulder like something she had been missing. These were her clubs, not backups, not placeholders, her favorites. The ones shaped to her grip, tuned to her tempo, worn in all the right places. When she wrapped her fingers around the handle, Something inside her exhaled. Josh swung his own bag onto his shoulder like it weighed nothing. Anyone who knew golf knew who he was. Joshua Yenda, #1 in the men's game. From St. Croix, a handicap so low it was almost theoretical. He didn't announce himself. Never had. But attention found him anyway. A couple of golfers near the putting green stared a beat too long. Someone whispered his name. Someone else lifted a phone and pretended not to. The surprise wasn't just seeing him, it was seeing them together, brother and sister, on an Alabama course. Both elite, both unmistakable. Josh ignored it. EJ clocked it. Kelly felt it tighten her chest. This wasn't the training range that she and EJ had been practicing on for the last 10 days. This was real golf. As they walked toward the first tee, she became acutely aware of everything at once. The sound of bags being set down, the scrape of spikes, the quiet courtesy of players waiting their turn. Her heartbeat climbed, not panic, anticipation laced with pressure. She set her bag down at the tee box and looked out. The fairway stretched long and unforgiving, water guarding the left side like a warning, bunkers carved deep on the right. No room for sloppiness. Josh glanced at the layout, then at her. "Front 9 here plays tougher than it looks," he said casually. "They get you early." She nodded. Her hands were steady. Her breath was not. She teed the ball and stepped back, visualizing the shot the way she always had. The crowd noise, real or imagined, faded. For a moment it was just grass and sky and distance. Then she swung. The contact wasn't what it used to be. Not bad, not clean, just guarded. The ball started right and drifted farther than she wanted, landing safely but short of ideal. Playable. She let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. "Fairway's fairway," Josh said, already moving. "We'll take it." By the time they reached her second shot, her shoulders were tight. Too tight. She lined up again, overcorrected, and sent the ball straight into the water with a soft, final splash that echoed louder than it should have. Her jaw clenched. Josh handed her another ball without ceremony. "Drop! No drama!" She shot him a look. "I didn't say anything." "You were about to," he replied. She hit again. This one stayed dry but rolled into a bunker, sand swallowing it whole. Her chest burned. Hole 2 didn't feel any kinder. Her drive was solid, but fatigue crept in faster than expected. Her legs felt heavy by the walk to the green. Breath coming sharper now. She bent slightly at the waist, hands on her thighs, and stared at the grass. "I need the cart," she said, half joking, half not. "No," EJ said immediately. She straightened, irritation flashing. "I'm serious." "And I'm serious," he replied. "You walk." Josh was already handing her a bottle. Coconut water. Cold. He pressed a protein bar into her palm. Small sips, small bites, and breathe. She took both, reluctantly grateful. They moved on. By the time she teed up on the next hole, frustration had layered over fear, and ego had started whispering again. "You should be better than this. People are watching." She rushed the swing. The ball clipped the edge of the fairway and buried itself deep in a bunker with a thud that felt personal. She exhaled sharply. Unfreaking believable. EJ stepped closer now, voice low enough that only she could hear it. "You are not who you were," he said. "And that's not an insult." She turned on him, anger sharp despite the exhaustion. "You don't have to say anything right now, I already know." He didn't flinch. "You're running the entire round in your head. Stop." She glared. "Play the shot you're standing over," he continued. "That's it." "I like you better when you're not talking," she shot back. "Then do something that'll make me shut up," EJ replied. That stung. They walked toward the next tee in silence. Halfway there, Josh fell into step beside her, voice quieter now, familiar in the way only a younger brother could be. "We were kids," he said. "Different ages. Same courses. You cried on the 5th hole, your first full 9, because you were exhausted." She met his eyes. "But even then," he added, "you didn't play for the crowd. You played the shot in front of you." They reached the 4th tee. This hole suited her. Shorter, demanding precision instead of power. The kind of hole that punished overthinking and rewarded commitment. She set her feet. This time she didn't rush. Didn't scan the whole course, didn't calculate what it meant. She focused on the lie beneath her feet. She swung. The ball lifted clean, cutting the air in a line that felt right the moment it left the club. It landed softly, rolled true, and settled close. Josh let out a low whistle. There she is. Her approach shot followed the same rhythm. Calm, measured, present. The putt dropped. Birdie. She didn't celebrate. She just stood there, breathing hard, sweat cooling against her skin, chest rising and falling like she had earned the right to be there. Somewhere off to the side, someone snapped a photo. Another angle. Another phone. The image would be online before she reached the next tee. Mookie caught all of it. Kelly wiped her face with the back of her hand and looked at EJ. He said nothing. For once, he didn't need to. They didn't talk much while walking to the fifth tee. Kelly didn't need commentary anymore. Her body was loud enough. By hole 5, fatigue announced itself without asking permission. Her calves felt tight, her lower back tugged every time she bent to tee the ball, and sweat clung to her spine despite the cool December air. She bent forward with her hands on her thighs longer than she meant to, pulling in breath slowly, deliberately. This is the wall, Josh said quietly, not dramatically. Observational. Everybody hits it somewhere. She nodded without looking up. I know. You don't fight it, he added. You manage it. She straightened, rolled her shoulders, and stepped to the tee. Hole 5 wasn't flashy, no heroics. She played it conservatively, club down, aim at center, accept par like a gift rather than a demand. The ball landed clean, rolled true, and for the first time that day, she felt her breathing even out before the walk to the green. Josh smiled. That's grown golf, she snorted. Don't get poetic. Hole 6 came with trouble. Water guarded the left side aggressively, the kind of hazard that whispered to players who wanted to shape shots they hadn't earned yet. Kelly stood over the ball longer than she had all day, eyes narrowing, calculations racing. Josh stepped in close. You don't need to flirt with it. I know, she said. Then don't. She adjusted her stance half an inch right and swung. The ball started clean, then drifted. Too much. It clipped the edge and disappeared with a soft, unforgiving splash. Her shoulders dropped immediately. Okay, she muttered, not angry, just disappointed. Josh was already moving. Drop zone, reset. She did. Took her medicine. Played out. Walked off with a bogey that felt heavier than the scorecard suggested. EJ said nothing. That was intentional. Hole 7 surprised her. It was shorter, tighter, demanding precision more than power. By then, something had shifted. Her expectations were quieter. Her swing is less performative. She trusted the club instead of forcing it. The shot off the tee landed exactly where Josh pointed. The approach stuck. She rolled in a confident par putt without ceremony. Josh nodded once. That's you. Hole 8 was grit, sand. Her ball buried itself in a bunker with just enough depth to test her patience. She stared at it for a moment, jaw tight, then laughed once under her breath. Of course. Josh handed her the wedge. Open the face. Commit. She did. The ball popped up clean, landed soft, and stopped within makeable range. She didn't celebrate the save, but she felt it. A small win, the kind that stacked quietly. By the time they reached the 9th tee, her legs were heavy, her shirt damp, her grip tacky with sweat and effort. She flexed her fingers once, rolled her neck, and exhaled. EJ finally spoke. How's the tank? Low, she said honestly, but not empty. Good, he replied. Finished strong, not loud. Hole 9 demanded attention. Longer, slight dogleg, nothing forgiving about it. She took an extra moment before teeing the ball, not because she needed time, but because the moment deserved respect. Standing there, club in hand, she felt the echo of every course she'd ever walked. Every winter round, every unfamiliar green, every time she'd proven she could adapt. She swung. The ball flew true. Not perfect, but intentional. Her approach landed safely. 2 putts later, she walked off with par. 9 holes done. She leaned on her club for a moment, breathing hard, chest rising and falling with effort she hadn't felt in 9 months. Josh checked the card. 7 over, he said, then looked up at her. Given the layoff? Given today? That's strong. She nodded slowly. It didn't feel strong. It wasn't supposed to, he replied. It was supposed to be real. EJ joined them at the edge of the green. He studied her the way he always did. Not just the score, but the posture, the eyes, the way she stood when no one was watching. Tomorrow, he said, we walk the back 9. She raised an eyebrow. Just 9 again? For now, he replied. Day after, we stretch it to 18. Josh smiled. You'll feel this tomorrow. She laughed tiredly. I already do. As they walked off the course, Kelly glanced back once. Not in longing, not in fear, but in acknowledgement. She wasn't where she used to be, but she was exactly where she needed to be next. The drive back from the course was quiet in the way only earned quiet ever was. Not awkward, not heavy, just full. Kelly sat in the back seat this time, journal open on her lap, pen resting between her fingers while the road slipped by outside the window. Her body had settled into that deep, honest fatigue that didn't scare her anymore, the kind that meant she had used herself fully. She didn't write right away. She replayed the day instead, the entrance, the looks, the first tee, 9 holes. Not a tournament, not a comeback, just 9 holes that had asked everything from her. She finally put pen to paper. Day 10, first 9 on course. She paused, then crossed out on course and rewrote it. First 9 back. I forgot how loud a course feels when you're not hiding behind practice. She wrote slower now. I was nervous in a way training didn't prepare me for. Not about the shots, about being seen trying. She thought about the water ball on the early hole, the bunker she didn't escape cleanly the first time, the irritation that flared when her body didn't obey fast enough. She didn't soften any of it on the page. I went 7 over. She underlined it once. 9 months ago, that number would have embarrassed me. Today it felt like information. She leaned her head back briefly, then continued. The fatigue showed up around the middle. Not pain, weight. I wanted the cart. I wanted the shortcut. I didn't take it. That mattered more than the score. She closed the journal for a moment and stared out the window. For the first time since the injury, golf hadn't felt like a performance review. It felt like work, and she missed that more than she ever admitted. Josh spoke first, steady and matter-of-fact. 7 over on the front 9, he said. That's walking the course in December, on a layout she's never played before, after 9 months away from competition. He glanced at Kelly in the rearview mirror, then back to the road. That score tells me where your endurance drops, where the nerves still show up, and where your instincts take over without you forcing them. That's valuable information, not a verdict. EJ nodded once, hands firm on the wheel. It showed us how your body responds under fatigue, he added, and it showed us which decisions you trust automatically versus the ones you overthink. He paused, then said evenly, that's exactly what we needed today. Later that night, the house had settled into a quieter version of itself. Not asleep, just lowered. The kind of quiet that came after a long day when everyone had said what they needed to say, and no one felt the urge to fill space anymore. EJ stood at the whiteboard in the garage, the overhead light casting a clean square over the concrete floor. The board was already marked with lines and notes from earlier in the week, but now he wiped it clean and started again. He wrote one thing at the top. Kelly leaned against the doorway, still in workout clothes, hair pulled back, journal tucked under her arm. Her body felt heavy in a way she recognized. Not injury, not fear, just effort finally asking to be acknowledged. EJ didn't turn around as he spoke. Today was your first time walking 9 holes in 9 months, he said, on a course you have never seen. With people watching, that matters. She nodded. It felt longer than 9. That's conditioning, not collapse, he replied. And it showed up exactly where I expected it to. He drew a simple arc on the board. Your opening holes were tense, he continued, not because you forgot how to play, but because your body was trying to protect itself before it trusted the environment. She crossed her arms. So, holes 1 through 3? Yes, EJ said. You were thinking ahead instead of staying where your feet were. That cost you rhythm, not skill. She smiled faintly. Josh said something similar, just with fewer words. EJ finally turned and met her eyes. Josh speaks to you as your brother. I speak to you as your trainer. Both matters. He tapped the board again. By hole 4, you adjusted. Not because the course changed, but because you did. You stopped fighting the walk and started moving with it. She thought about the moment, how tired she had been, how annoyed, how badly she had wanted the cart. And by hole 6, EJ went on, your decision-making improved. You did not force shots. You accepted the lie you were standing over. That phrase landed differently now. She shifted her weight. I still put one in the water. Yes, EJ said calmly, and you did not spiral afterward. That is the difference. He picked up the marker again. 7 over on the front 9, he said. Walking, cold start, new course. That is information, not judgment. She exhaled slowly. I was embarrassed by how tired I was, she admitted. You were tired because you worked, EJ replied. There is no shame in that. He capped the marker and leaned against the workbench. What matters most, he said, is that your body stayed present for all 9 holes. You did not shut down. You did not retreat. You stayed. She opened her journal, flipping to the page she had started earlier. I wrote that it felt like my instincts were still there, she said. They just needed time to speak louder than the noise. EJ nodded. That is exactly right. She looked up at him. So what does today tell you? It tells me where to build, he said. It tells me how much load your legs can carry before your breathing changes. It tells me when your focus drifts and when it locks in. And the tournament? She asked carefully. EJ held her gaze. Today did not close that door. That was all he said. She closed the journal, feeling the weight of the day finally settle, not as doubt, but as grounding. Tomorrow would come later. For now, the front 9 had done its job. It had reminded her what showing up actually felt like. And that was enough for tonight. Kelly woke up before her alarm. Not because she was anxious, because she was ready. That surprised her. The back 9 felt different in her mind before she ever set foot on the course. And yesterday had been about exposure. About showing up after 9 months away and letting her body speak without interruption. Today felt sharper, more deliberate. Less about survival and more about intention. She dressed with care, the way she always had before rounds that mattered. A fitted, long-sleeve performance top in deep forest green. Tailored black golf pants with stretched through the hips and thighs. Her favorite belt, worn soft from years of travel. Hair pulled back tight, visor low. The outfit wasn't about style. It was about memory. About reminding her body who it had been trained to be. Downstairs, EJ was already awake. Coffee untouched, eyes on his tablet. You eat? He asked. Yes, she said. Oats? Almond butter? Banana? Salt? Josh looked up from tying his shoes. Good. You'll need it today. They drove in a quiet that wasn't tense. It was focused. The kind of quiet that only exists when everyone knows the work ahead. At the course, the back 9 weighted differently than the front. The fairways narrowed, the greens sloped harder. The angles asked more questions. This side of the course didn't reward hope. It rewarded discipline. Josh walked a few steps ahead of her as they approached the first tee of the back 9. This side, he said, turning slightly, doesn't punish distance. It punishes impatience. She nodded. You don't need hero shots here, he continued. You need placement. Commit to the line. Accept the result. EJ added, today is not about fixing yesterday. It's about responding to it. Hole 10 demanded attention immediately. Tight landing area. Water guarding the left. Bunker right. Deep and unforgiving. Kelly stood behind the ball longer than yesterday. Not frozen, just present. She swung. The contact wasn't loud, but it was centered. The ball held its line and settled safely in the fairway. Josh exhaled. That's how you start. Hole 11 tested her patience. She pushed the drive slightly and paid for it with an awkward lie. She chose conservatively, laid up instead of forcing distance. Yesterday, that choice would have frustrated her. Today, it felt intelligent. By hole 12, fatigue started whispering again. Not screaming, but reminding her it hadn't disappeared. Her legs felt heavier, her breath shorter between shots. She paused longer between swings, hands resting on her knees. Drink, Josh said, handing her water. Slow your breathing. You're not behind. She nodded, took a long sip, and reset. Hole 13 humbled her. A misjudged approach clipped the edge of the green and rolled into a bunker. The sand was deeper than it looked. Her first attempt came up short. She stepped back, jaw tight. Josh crouched beside her. Sand isn't punishment, he said calmly. It's information. Open the face. Commit. Don't steer. She nodded once. The next shot popped clean, landed soft, and held. Hole 14 rewarded her restraint. Parred without drama, hole 15 tested her endurance. Long walk, slight incline. She asked for the cart without thinking. EJ shook his head immediately. No. She stopped walking and turned to him. I'm tired. I know, he said evenly. And you're still walking. Josh stepped in, voice steady. We'll slow the pace, not the process. He handed her a protein bar. Eat, breathe, then move. She did. By hole 16, something shifted again. Not confidence, not comfort, trust. Her swing felt less guarded, her finish longer, her balance steadier. She wasn't forcing power, she was letting sequencing do its job. Hole 17 was her best of the day. A clean drive, crisp iron, a birdie putt that dropped without hesitation. She didn't celebrate. She just nodded. Hole 18 asked for composure. She gave it exactly that. Bogey, acceptable, earned. Josh checked the card as they walked off the green. Back 9, he said. 4 over. She stopped walking and looked at him. Walking, he added. Second day, new course. Fatigue included. EJ met her eyes. That's progression. Not praise, assessment. They drove back in thoughtful silence. Later that night, Kelly sat on the edge of the bed, journal open, pen moving slower than yesterday. Back 9, different questions, better answers. I didn't fight my body today. I listened to it. Fatigue showed up, but it didn't take over. Fear knocked, but it didn't drive. I don't feel finished. I feel underway. Downstairs, EJ stood at the whiteboard, adjusting columns. Front 9, exposure. Back 9, discipline. Tournament prep, integration. He circled the date. 3 days after Christmas, and Kelly came downstairs. The house was louder than usual. Music was playing low in the background. Someone was already pulling food from the stove. The kitchen smelled warm and familiar. For a moment, it felt like a pause button had been pressed on everything difficult. Then Shlomo cleared his throat. I need everyone in here, he said. That got their attention. Chairs scraped. Conversations overlapped as people crowded into the kitchen, talking at the same time. What's going on? Did you find something? Is this about the phone? Shlomo lifted both hands. One at a time. Kelly leaned against the counter, suddenly alert. I'm close, Shlomo said. Not done, but close. The room buzzed instantly. How close? To whom? When? I found someone who can trace number reassignments, Shlomo continued. Not officially. A friend of a friend. He knows how carriers recycle numbers and how requests get logged. Jaynae's eyes sharpened. Meaning someone could have intentionally reclaimed Auntie Nadine's number? Exactly, Shlomo said. If they knew it existed. If they knew where to look. Beverly pressed a hand to the counter. So this wasn't random? No, Shlomo replied. But I need more time to confirm who pulled it and when. The room went quiet, then filled again. This time with energy instead of confusion. We're getting somewhere, Mookie said. Kelly felt it too. Not relief. Momentum. How long? EJ asked. A few days, Shlomo said. Soon. Kelly nodded slowly. That's fine. She looked around at her family, all talking at once again, excited now instead of uneasy. Truth was moving. Kelly closed her bedroom door softly behind her and leaned back against it for a moment, listening to the house settle. Laughter still floated up from the kitchen. Voices overlapped. The sound of family, relief, momentum. A breakthrough. Almost. She stared at the family group chat again. No new message. No explanation. Just the memory of the typing bubble appearing, disappearing, appearing again. Kelly exhaled slowly. Okay, she thought. Switch hats. This wasn't golfer Kelly. This was the version of her that watched Criminal Minds with a notebook in her lap, rewinding scenes, catching patterns before the profiler named them out loud. She laid back against the pillows and stared at the ceiling. Facts only. Auntie Nadine was gone. Her phone was not lost. It had been stored deliberately. Someone either had access to it or had access to the number. That narrowed things. If someone bought the number after it was released, they wouldn't know the phrase. If someone knew the phrase, they were close enough to remember a private conversation. And if someone wanted to scare the family, they would have posted again. They hadn't, which meant the message wasn't meant to cause chaos. It was meant to move her. Kelly closed her eyes. Message delivered, she thought. Mission accomplished. Tomorrow is Christmas. 3 days after that was the tournament. She rolled onto her side and stared at her golf bag in the corner of the room. Clubs cleaned and lined up with care. Familiar. Ready. Waiting. I'm not letting this bleed into my game, she said quietly, to no one. She reached for her notebook then, finally opening it, and wrote a single line across the top of the page. Solve later. Play now. The profiler could wait, the golfer couldn't. Kelly turned off the lamp and let the house noise fade into background comfort, her body tired in the right way, her mind finally choosing rest over pursuit. Kelly realized something was wrong the moment she reached the bottom of the stairs. The house was loud. Too loud. Laughter bounced off the walls, music played from someone's phone. Plates clinked. Someone yelled across the kitchen about cinnamon like it was an emergency. Matching pajamas everywhere. She blinked, then she smelled it. Bush tea, lemongrass sharp and clean, basil warm underneath it. Scrambled tofu sizzling. Johnny cake stacked high. Chop steaming in a wide pan. Pancakes dusted heavily with cinnamon. Fruit bowls overflowing with pineapple, mango, watermelon, and strawberries. Christmas on St. Croix energy, except they were in Alabama. And then she saw it. Through the kitchen window. White, not frost, not dew, snow. Kelly stopped walking. Her gym bag slid off her shoulder and hit the floor. No, she said quietly. No one heard her. She stepped closer to the window, pressing her palm flat against the glass like it might change its mind. Snow on the ground. Actual snow. Her chest tightened instantly. No, 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 she said louder now. No. Jaynae turned first. What's wrong? Kelly spun around. It's snowing. Josh frowned. Yeah? I can't play in that, Kelly snapped. You can't play on a course with snow on the ground. EJ looked outside once, then back at her. She started pacing immediately. That means today is gone, she said, words tumbling over each other. And if it's snowing today, there'll be snow tomorrow, which means I only get 1 day to walk 18 holes before the tournament. Her hands flew as she talked. 1 day. 1. I haven't played 18 holes in 9 months. I need today to see where my body dips after 12, or 14, or 16. She turned in a tight circle. This messes up everything. Mookie, already recording, whispered loudly, Oh, this is the moment. Kelly shot him a look. Turn that off now. Mookie didn't. Documenting the crash out for the comeback. Kelly dragged both hands through her hair. I planned my food, my water, my pacing. I was ready to eat and go. I didn't even know it was Christmas pajama day. Josh glanced at EJ. She's spiraling. I am not spiraling, Kelly snapped. I am recalculating under pressure. Thank you. She paced faster. If there's snow on the course, carts are closed, which means tomorrow, if tomorrow clears, I have to walk all 18. Cold, new terrain. That's a stress test I didn't plan for. Her voice sped up. And I can't skip it because the tournament is 3 days after Christmas and EJ stepped in front of her. Physically. He put both hands on her shoulders and leaned down until she had no choice but to look at him. Kelly, he said firmly. Pause. She kept talking anyway. And if my calf tightens at hole 13? Kelly. She tried to step around him. He pulled her in instead. Not rough, grounding. She froze. You are safe, EJ said, low and steady. You are not behind. You are not failing. You are reacting. Her breath came fast, shallow. You sound like you drank 10 cups of coffee, no, he added, and you don't even drink coffee. That almost made her laugh. Almost. Josh stepped closer. The snow isn't a verdict, he said gently. It's a delay. She shook her head. Delays matter. They do, EJ agreed. But panic costs more. Mookie zoomed in. This is gold. Put the phone down, Beverly said sharply from the stove. Mookie lowered it, slightly. EJ waited until Kelly's breathing slowed. Here's the truth, he said. You wanted 18 holes today because it felt clean, controlled, predictable. She swallowed. But golf doesn't work like that, he continued. Neither does comeback. She looked past him at the snow again, jaw tight. So, what now? She asked. Now, EJ said, we eat, we rest. We let the weather do what it does. And tomorrow? She pressed. If tomorrow clears, Josh said, you walk all 18. We adjust expectations, not effort. And if it doesn't? EJ met her eyes. Then we adapt again. She exhaled, long and shaky. I hate this part, she muttered. EJ nodded. I know. He pulled her into a brief hug, firm enough to stop the pacing. You're not losing time, he said quietly. You're learning how to stay calm when the plan breaks. Mookie lifted the phone again. That line was fire. Kelly groaned into EJ's shoulder. I'm deleting you from the documentary. But she stayed still, and slowly the crash out passed. Outside, the snow kept falling. Inside, Christmas continued, and the countdown to the tournament kept moving, whether she liked it or not. The snow finally cleared the morning before the tournament. By the time Kelly stepped onto the course, the ground was firm, the air sharp, and the wind loud enough to make its presence known. December in Alabama never followed rules. It reminded her of playing overseas. Cold one day, forgiving the next. Unpredictable always. She liked that. It felt fair. Josh rested her bag on the grass beside the first tee, already scanning the flag, the tree line, the way the wind pushed low and then lifted unexpectedly near the green. He didn't need to rush. This was his job now. Par 5, he said calmly. Wind's crossing, left to right. It's stronger up top than it feels here. Kelly nodded, hands already tightening on the grip. EJ stood back, arms crossed, watching her, not the course. Mookie was a few yards off, phone up, pretending to frame the clubhouse behind her while actually catching her face. The set of her jaw, the way she rolled her shoulders once, twice, the inhale she took before stepping up. People were watching. She could feel it. Not a crowd. A couple of heads turned. Someone whispered her name. Someone else lifted a phone and didn't even bother pretending this time. Josh stepped closer. Trust the line. Don't try to muscle it. She nodded again, then swung. The contact was clean, but the wind grabbed the ball mid-flight and dragged it just enough offline. It hit the water. A murmur moved through the small group nearby. Kelly didn't move. Josh exhaled slowly. All right, reset. Par's gone, but the hole's still playable. EJ said nothing. That annoyed her more than commentary would have. She dropped another ball, jaw tight now, and played safe. Too safe. Her approach landed short, rolled awkwardly, and left her scrambling. She finished the hole 1 over par. She didn't look at the scorecard. Hole 2 came fast. Par 4. Narrower fairway, wind at her back now. Josh crouched slightly. Let it ride. Don't fight it. She didn't listen. Her drive pushed long, too long, and clipped the rough. She recovered, but the rhythm was off. Her shoulders stayed tense through the swing, and she left herself work she shouldn't have. Bogey. Mookie caught the moment she snapped the glove off and stuffed it into her back pocket too hard. EJ finally spoke. You're rushing. She shot him a look. I'm fine. You're not, he replied evenly. You're thinking about the card. That was it. Stop coaching, she snapped. I know what I'm doing. Josh stayed calm. Hey, this hole's a par 3. Short, wind straight into you. Club up. She breathed. Once, twice. She hit it clean. The ball held, dropped softly, rolled to within 6 feet. A few claps this time. She sank the putt. Birdie. Mookie caught her fist tightening at her side. Not celebration, not relief. Focus. Holes 4 and 5 tested her legs more than her swing. Walking pace, elevation, wind shifting again. She bent forward between shots, hands on her thighs, breath coming faster now. Josh was already there with water before she asked. EJ didn't say a word. By hole 6, she was even again. Then one over, then back. Sand on 7. A bad lie she didn't like. She snapped at EJ when he reminded her to play this shot, not the last one. Do not start, she warned. He met her glare. Then give me something else to watch. She did. A controlled swing, high enough to clear, soft enough to sit. Par save. By the time she reached the 9th tee, her calves burned, her shoulders felt heavy, and her patience was thin. Josh marked the card carefully. Front 9, he said, handing it to her. 36. She stared at it. That was par. Walking. Wind. New course. She let out a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. Her legs noticed it first. Not pain. Weight. The kind that settles into the thighs and calves and makes every step feel slightly delayed, like her body was answering a second slower than her mind expected. Hole 10 greeted her with a long fairway and a crosswind that refused to pick a side. Kelly set her stance, eyes locked ahead. Josh had already rested the bag on the ground. He stood a few feet off her shoulder, watching the flags, watching her breath, watching the way she flexed her fingers once too many times on the grip. Wind's not against you, he said quietly. It's moving left to right. Let it help you. Don't fight it. She nodded without looking at him. The swing came clean but not free. The ball lifted, drifted farther than she wanted, and landed safely, but not where she had pictured. She exhaled sharply. That's fine, EJ said from behind her. Not encouraging, just factual. She shot him a look. I didn't ask. I know, he replied. You didn't need to. By 11, the cold had crept in properly. Not biting, but persistent. The kind that stiffened joints between shots. Kelly rolled her shoulders, walked faster than necessary, refused to slow down even when her breathing edged louder. She pulled a shot into the rough. Not terrible. Not perfect. Her jaw tightened. Josh handed her the club she needed without comment. Coconut water appeared in her hand between shots without discussion. EJ said nothing. That silence irritated her more than criticism would have. Hole 12 put her in the bunker. Sand sprayed up around her calves as she stepped in, irritation flashing across her face. Of course, she muttered. Josh crouched slightly, checking the lip. Open the face just a touch. Commit through it. She did. The ball popped out clean and rolled closer than expected. A good shot. She didn't smile. By 13, her hands felt heavy. Decision took longer now. Club selection, wind read, distance calculation. She stood over the ball longer than she liked, frustration buzzing under her skin. EJ stepped closer. You're rushing your thinking because you're tired. She snapped her head toward him. You think I don't know that? I think you don't want to accept it. She stared at him, chest rising fast, then turned away. Mookie was somewhere behind them, phone steady, quiet as a shadow. He caught her face when she didn't know it. Jaw set, eyes narrowed, breath sharp with effort. This wasn't highlight reel Kelly. This was work. Hole 14 gave her a birdie look. She missed it by inches. She stood there longer than necessary, hands on her hips, staring at the cup as if it had personally offended her. Keep moving, Josh said gently. She didn't answer. 15 tested her patience thoroughly. The wind kicked up harder. The fairway narrowed. She overthought the shot and undercommitted. The ball dropped short. She slammed the club head lightly into the turf. Not enough to damage it, just enough to make her point. This is ridiculous, she snapped. EJ didn't flinch. This is what finishing feels like. She turned on him. You enjoy this part way too much. No, he said calmly. I trust you through it. That shut her up. 16 blurred together. Another long walk, another decision, another moment where she wanted to be done, but wasn't allowed to be. By 17, she was bending forward slightly between shots, hands on her knees, breath controlled but loud. Josh waited until she straightened. You don't need perfect, he said. You need present. She glared at him. You two planned this, didn't you? He smiled faintly. We planned for this. The last hole waited. 18. She stood on the tee box longer than she had all day. Not because she didn't know what to do, but because finishing meant accepting exactly what today was. Not a comeback, not a statement, a measurement. She swung, the ball flew straight, lower than usual, intentional. It landed safely and rolled forward, steady and obedient. Her shoulders dropped a fraction, 2 more shots, 1 putt. She tapped it in and stepped back without ceremony. Josh checked the card. He didn't rush. Then he looked up. You finished, he said, and you held it together. EJ nodded. Tomorrow we adjust. Kelly didn't smile, but she stood upright. The car was quiet for the first few minutes, the kind of quiet that pressed instead of soothed. Kelly stared straight ahead, arms folded tight across her chest, jaw locked like she was still standing over the 18th green. Her body was exhausted, but her mind refused to shut down. Every missed shot replayed. Every moment she had rushed. Every time she had argued, out loud or silently, with the course, with EJ, with herself. She hadn't listened today. That was the part that bothered her most. Josh finally broke the silence, not gently. You were trying to play who you used to be, he said, keeping his eyes on the road. Not who you are right now. She inhaled sharply. That's not fair. It's accurate, he replied. And accuracy matters more than comfort. She turned toward him, frustration flashing. I finished all 18. You survived all 18, EJ said from the passenger seat. Those are not the same thing. Kelly laughed once, brittle. So what? I'm supposed to feel good about today or terrible? Josh shook his head. Neither. You're supposed to feel informed. That got her attention. You rushed when you felt watched, he continued. You pressed after bad shots instead of resetting. And when you got tired, you tried to make perfect swings instead of smart ones. Her shoulders sagged slightly. I kept thinking about how I used to play, she admitted quietly. What I could get away with. EJ turned just enough to look at her. Tomorrow doesn't care who you used to be. The words landed hard. You don't need brilliance tomorrow, he said. You need patience. You need discipline. And you need to stop fighting reality. Josh nodded. You want to win. We all know that. But you don't win this tournament by chasing birdies. You win it by not bleeding strokes. She closed her eyes. Tomorrow, EJ added, you play boring golf. You conserve energy. You accept par. You reset after every shot like it's the only one that exists. Kelly exhaled slowly, the tension finally loosening its grip. I don't have to be spectacular, she said. No, Josh replied. You just have to stay present. The rest of the drive passed easier, still quiet, but lighter. EJ stood alone in the kitchen long after the noise died down, the whiteboard still lit by the overhead light. He stared at what he'd written, then shook his head slightly and added a line beneath it, slower this time. He knew 3 things at once. First, Kelly was wired to win, not hope, not experiment, win. She didn't enter tournaments to see how it goes. Even now, even after 9 months away, her mind was already calculating scorecards, cuts, pressure holes. She was already competing with a version of herself no one else could see. Second, winning tomorrow was not the real danger. The danger was how she chased it, how she pushed past fatigue, past warning signs, past the quiet moments where smart players slowed down and survived. If she went after the win the way she used to, she would burn herself out before the tournament even showed its hand. And third, this was the part no one ever wanted to hear. Finishing well was the gateway to winning. Not finishing just to finish. Finishing managed. Finishing with energy still in her legs. Clarity still in her head. Patience still intact when other players started unraveling. If she could do that, if she could finish strong, then winning became possible. Not guaranteed, but possible. If she couldn't, then winning was never on the table to begin with. EJ capped the marker and stepped back. She wants to win, he said quietly to the empty room, then firmer now like a vow, which means our job isn't to chase the trophy. He looked once more at the board. Our job is to make sure she's still standing when it matters. The house was already awake. The kitchen smelled like lemongrass and basil steeping into bush tea, the kind Amika only made when she wanted clarity in the air. Steam curled from mugs lined across the counter. Someone laughed softly. Someone else hummed without realizing it. It was still early, still chilly, 57 degrees, Alabama reminding everyone that winter hadn't fully let go yet. Amika stood at the stove, back straight, eyes closed, palms resting lightly on the counter as she prayed. Not loudly, not performative. The way she always did, steady, precise, as if she were aligning something unseen. Shaft leaned in and murmured, "Once she starts praying like that, you might as well get ready." Jaynae smiled. "Every time." Mookie lifted his phone, recording quietly, instinctively. Not Kelly yet, the moment before her. Amika opened her eyes and turned. "Weather gonna warm," she said calmly. "Not because we need it to, because today needs space." No one questioned her. They never did. Kelly stood just outside the kitchen doorway, unseen for a moment, fully dressed and already laced into her shoes. Layers mattered today. Thermal base, fitted long sleeve, vest light enough to move in. Nothing flashy, nothing new. She looked like herself again. She paused, 18 holes. Again. She pressed her thumb into her palm, grounding herself. "You don't need to prove anything," she told herself. "You just need to play." Her body still remembered yesterday. The fatigue, the wind, the moments where frustration crept in faster than breath. And still, she had finished. That mattered more than she wanted to admit. Josh looked up first and caught her standing there. "Morning," he said, already reading her face the way he had their whole lives. EJ turned next. He didn't scan her, didn't assess. He just nodded once. "Ready?" he asked. She took the mug Beverly handed her, lemongrass and basil, warm and grounding. She drank slowly. "I'm ready," Kelly said. The car moved smoothly through the early morning, tires humming against the road as Montgomery slipped past the windows. Kelly sat in the back seat, posture upright, hands resting loosely on her thighs. Josh drove, EJ rode shotgun, no music. That was deliberate. Josh broke the silence first, voice calm, steady, the same tone he used when reading a course, not a mood. "You proved yesterday you can handle 18, he said. "So today isn't about proving anything. It's about repeating what works and letting go of what doesn't." Kelly nodded once. "I know where I bled strokes." "And you know why," EJ added, turning slightly in his seat. "Not because your swing disappeared, because your mind kept jumping ahead." She didn't argue. "That's because you're trying to play holes that don't exist yet," EJ continued. "The only thing real is the shot in front of you. Handle that, then earn the next one." Kelly exhaled slowly through her nose. Josh glanced at her in the rearview mirror. "Front nine yesterday, you rushed when you felt exposed. Back nine, you settled when you trusted your setup. Today, you don't wait for comfort. You build it." She shifted slightly in her seat. "Wind?" Josh nodded. "It'll test patience more than power. Let the ball work. Don't fight it. Commit to the club, commit to the line, and live with the result." EJ added, "And if something goes wrong, you don't carry it. Professionals reset faster than they celebrate." A faint smile touched her mouth. "That part I remember." "Good," EJ said, "because today isn't about chasing anything. It's about managing yourself long enough to let your game show up." The course entrance came into view ahead. Josh slowed the car. Kelly leaned forward slightly now, eyes fixed ahead. "Same rule all day," EJ said quietly as they pulled in. "One shot, one decision. Then let it go." She nodded. The car rolled to a stop, and Kelly opened the door already in rhythm with the day. Kelly drew a 10:15 tee time off the 10th. She preferred it that way. Starting on the back nine meant fewer eyes at first, fewer expectations crowding the opening swing. It also meant walking straight into the harder half of the course while her body was still waking up. Long par fours, narrow fairways, wind that moved just enough to punish indecision. EJ liked it. Josh loved it. "This side doesn't reward memory," Josh said quietly as they walked to the tee. "It rewards commitment." Hole 10 was a par 4 that looked forgiving from the box and bit you halfway down the fairway. Kelly stood over the ball longer than usual, not hesitating, just listening. Went off the right, firm ground. She chose a club one step safer than her old instinct. Josh nodded once. The strike wasn't flashy, it was controlled. Ball flight stayed low, ran out clean, and left her a workable second shot. Paragraph. She exhaled without meaning to. Hole 11 tightened immediately, trees encroaching. Green sloped back to front. Her approach came up short, clipped the front edge, and rolled into the bunker. Sand. She stared at it a beat too long. Josh didn't rush her. Plenty of green, he said. You don't need hero. You need out. She blasted clean, saved bogey. Hole 12 was where recognition started to creep in. A pair of golfers on the adjacent fairway slowed their carts, heads turning just enough to confirm. One whispered her name. Another lifted a phone and pretended not to. Kelly felt it, that familiar tightening in her chest, and pushed it aside. Paragraph. Hole 13 played longer than the card said it should. Wind stiffened. Her drive drifted left and kissed the rough. Not trouble, but not ideal. She argued with herself over club choice. EJ stepped in calmly. You're trying to force distance you don't need. She changed clubs. Hit it solid. Paragraph. Hole 14 was where fatigue announced itself. Her legs felt heavier. Her tempo slipped just enough to matter. The ball caught too much air and came down short, splashing into water guarding the front of the green. She didn't curse, didn't rush. She took the drop, reset, and walked away with bogey. Josh glanced at her. You didn't spiral. I wanted to, she said, but you didn't. Hole 15 rewarded her restraint. Clean drive, confident approach. The ball landed, checked once, and settled inside 10 feet. Birdie. Josh smiled like a proud older brother who had seen this before. Hole 16 was a grind. Narrow landing area, wind swirling. Her tee shot stayed in play but left her scrambling. She saved par with a putt that mattered more than it looked. Hole 17 tested patience. Long par 3, cold fingers. She came up short again, chipped on, two-putted. Bogey. By the time they reached 18, she was tired in a way no practice round had prepared her for. The fairway opened up. The green invited confidence. She swung like she trusted herself again. Paragraph. She handed Josh the card. He did the math quietly, then looked up. Back 9, 2 over, he said. EJ nodded. That's exactly where we wanted to be. Kelly didn't smile yet. She wasn't finished. They were already standing near the first tee when Josh's phone rang. He glanced at the screen and smiled. Ma? EJ didn't look up, but he clocked it. Kelly did too. She was stretching her shoulders, rolling her neck once, eyes on the fairway ahead like she was already walking it in her mind. Josh listened for a second, then nodded. Yeah, she's good. Walking, no cart. A pause. He turned and held the phone out to Kelly. She wants you. Kelly hesitated just long enough to steady her breath, then took it. Hey, Ma. Whatever Amika said didn't carry. Not a word of it reached Josh. Not a syllable reached EJ. Amika's voice stayed low, measured, intimate, prayer and instruction braided together the way only a mother who knew pressure could do. Kelly's shoulders dropped, her jaw unclenched. Her mouth curved into a smile that wasn't for anyone else. Yes, she murmured once, then again softer. I know. She handed the phone back to Josh without explanation. Josh didn't ask. EJ watched her closely. Something had shifted, not dramatic, not loud, but real. Her posture changed. Her stride lengthened. The tightness that had lived between her shoulder blades all morning loosened, just enough to matter. She stepped toward the tee box with a different rhythm, like the ground had stopped resisting her. Josh set the bag down behind her and checked the wind. It's crossing, not head-on, he said calmly. Trust your line. She nodded. No talk, no overthinking. Just preparation. A small cluster of people had gathered now, other players waiting, a few spectators who had realized who was standing on the tee. Phones came up, subtle at first. Someone whispered her name. Someone else nudged a friend. Mookie was already in position, camera steady, eyes sharp. He didn't say a word. He didn't need to. Kelly teed the ball, set her feet, one breath in, one out. The swing was clean, controlled, unrushed. The ball left the club face on a perfect trajectory, cutting through the air with that unmistakable sound, the one that made golfers stop mid-conversation and look up without meaning to. It landed dead center fairway. For half a second, no one spoke. Then someone behind them muttered, not quietly enough, "She's back." A junior cameraman, young, wide-eyed, clearly not assigned to her group, lowered his phone just long enough to say it again, louder this time, like he needed the world to hear it. "She's back." Kelly didn't turn around. She just picked up her tee, slid it into her pocket, and started walking. Her step had more lift now. Josh fell in beside her, grinning. EJ followed a few paces back, unreadable, but satisfied. The applause didn't die down the way it usually did after a good round. It swelled. Kelly stood just off the green on the ninth, chest rising fast, club still in her hand like she hadn't quite decided to put it down yet. Her scorecard was folded once, twice, creased from sweat and grip and disbelief. 7 under. The number sat in her body before it registered in her mind. 6 under on the day. After 9 months away, after doubt, after silence, after starting over. She looked at Josh first. He was already smiling, the kind that came from knowing before the rest of the world caught up. He stepped in, voice low but steady. "You did exactly what you needed to do," he said. "You didn't chase anything. You let the course come to you." EJ exhaled hard behind them, one hand on his cap like he needed the pressure to ground himself. "She finished," he muttered, then quieter, almost to himself, "and she finished strong." Kelly laughed, a short, breathless sound that cracked into something bigger when Jaynae came barreling through the small crowd, phone already in her hand. "You're trending," Jaynae said, eyes wide, delighted. "Like, trending. Someone posted the ninth hole putt, then the reaction, then the hug. It's everywhere." As if on cue, Kelly's phone buzzed, then buzzed again, then didn't stop. Her agent, unknown numbers. Sponsors she hadn't heard from in months, suddenly remembering her name. She didn't look at any of it, not yet. Instead, she turned, and there they were, Emeka and Shaft. They didn't rush her. They never did. They walked with intention, pride written plainly across their faces. And when they reached her, Emeka pulled her into a hug so fierce it finally made Kelly still. "You did what you were supposed to do," Emeka said softly into her ear. "You listened." Shaft squeezed her shoulder, nodding at EJ and Josh. "Thank you for taking care of our girl." Josh smiled. "She took care of herself." Michelle appeared next, quiet but glowing, a single photo already printed and held carefully between her hands. She passed it to Kelly without a word. The image caught her mid-swing, balanced, powerful, present. Not the old Kelly, not the injured one. This one. Kelly swallowed. Then the official called her name. She stepped forward, the noise rising again, and accepted the trophy with both hands. It was smaller than the ones she'd held before, quieter, local, but it felt heavier in the right way. When she lifted it, the crowd surged. Phones up, voices calling her name, people asking for autographs, pictures, anything. Someone shouted, "Welcome back!" And she laughed again, this time full and unguarded. Mookie's voice cut through it all. "I got it! All of it!" She turned back to her family just as Emeka spoke again, voice calm but commanding in the way that meant something important was coming. "All right," she said. "We're celebrating tonight." Cheers followed. Then she added, smiling like she'd been holding on to this moment all day, "And I have something I want to tell my family." The noise softened. Kelly felt it then. That familiar tightening, not of fear, but of anticipation. Later, after the pictures, after the hugs, after the crowd thinned, Emeka clinked a spoon gently against a glass. "I want everyone here," she said. The room quieted, but the energy stayed. Emeka took a breath, not nervous, just deliberate. "I owe you all the truth," she said. Kelly's stomach tightened, not with fear, but recognition. "The message," Emeka continued, "the one from Nadine's phone." A beat. "I sent it." The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was stunned. Mookie broke it first. "Wait," he said, then burst out laughing. "I knew it was something like that." Kelly turned slowly, eyes locked on her mother. Amika met her gaze without flinching. "I didn't do it to scare you," Amika said. "I did it because I know my daughter, and I knew if I didn't shake the ground, you would have learned how to stand still in a place that was killing you." She paused. "One day I was looking for something," she went on, "and I found Nadine's phone. I'd kept it without thinking, carefully, like you do when you're not ready to let something go." The room was quiet now, listening. "The idea came to me clear as day," Amika said. "Turn it back on. Say the thing that would reach you." Kelly stepped closer. "I have one question," she said softly. "How did you know to say that?" Amika smiled, sad and tender all at once. "One night," she said, "you were talking in your sleep. You kept asking Nadine what it meant. Over and over. You kept saying, 'Truth does travel.'" Kelly exhaled. Something inside her loosened. She stepped forward and hugged her mother, pressing her forehead against Amika's shoulder. "Thank you," Kelly whispered. "I needed the fire." Amika held her tighter. "I know." Around them, laughter bubbled back up. Music turned on again. Someone poured drinks. Someone else started planning dinner. But Kelly stayed still for a moment longer. Trophy in hand. Family around her. Truth finally where it belonged. Not behind her. With her. And for once, the road ahead didn't feel like something she had to chase. It felt like something she was ready to walk, on her own terms. If you love this story, make sure you subscribe to Simply Jaynae Stories and share it with someone who appreciates great stories that linger. And we want to hear from you. Tell us in the comments where you're listening from and what you think about Truth Travels so far. Your support helps these stories travel farther than you know. Until next time.